طيب, welcome all. It's a pleasure to have you all here with us today to witness a groundbreaking unique competency is being introduced for the first time in Sudan and even globally. فبنرحب بالبروف. Welcome يا بروف. It's a pleasure to have you today. فمرحب بالبروف. بروف عماد.
السلام عليكم. مرحب بالجميع ومشكورين على الحضور. I'm sure you will be fascinated by this talk. It is truly a novel competency. It's been introduced for the first time. It's definitely fully Sudanese, a Sudanese-made competency, and it's. I think all Sudanese people should be proud that it belongs to them. Right, first ever, competency, first ever being written in medical journals as a new competency. I welcome you all to a very fascinating talk on a new competency, and I'm sure you will find it very practical and very useful, and it's going to change the way you're going to be practicing wherever you are. If you have any team you're looking after, any followers, junior, or you're a head of a unit in any hospital, right? Or even in your normal life, it will actually be very, very useful. Right. So I'll just start sharing my screen. Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. Right, I hope everybody can see I'm sharing the screen. I hope everybody can see it. You can confirm, Muhammad, if you can see it.
The slide is clear.
Okay, then we'll say, okay, so Bismillah, the talk is about engagement, the E Competency. That's the name we have actually chosen. It's about staff and patient engagement. And as you're going to see, it's actually a prescription for healthcare transformation. So it's about the E competency, and it's about staff and patient engagement. And as you're going to see, it's a prescription for healthcare transformation, right? Also see that it's also a prescription for life transformation, because it's a competence for engaging others or engaging as a whole. Okay. Now, some people might have seen, Al-Tababa 180 being written, and people, some people asked, what does Al-Tababa 180 really means? Right, Al-Tababa is actually about healing, and 180 is about, having a 180 degrees change or about transformation. We are hoping that this talk will be part of an empowerment program for the healthcare providers, right, to re-innovate and heal the country and transform its healthcare. Okay, it's a competency for leaders, really. If you are a leader, you really need to master this competency. Right now, the engagement competency has been published in one of the American journals, late last year, and we've tried to make this publication available for everybody, because it's very rich in its content and gives lots of practical advice on how really to engage your team or your followers. Right, that's actually the team of developers of the competency, and this competency has actually been presented for the first time at the Medical Specialization Board. Actually October. More than a year ago now, actually, and it was the first time ever that was presented in a medical establishment, and it was presented at the Medical Specialization Board. It was a full-day course attended by lots of actually scholars and academics from multiple universities in Khartoum, and actually they enjoyed the talk and found it very practical. As a matter of fact, some people made use of what they have learned on that same day. So it was actually very practical and useful. Okay. Now, just to give you a feel of the importance of engagement. Now, this is actually a true story. which happened actually many years ago in 1962. Now, President Kennedy noticed a janitor, somebody who's a cleaner, right? And he was carrying a broom, he was carrying the maknasa, right? Now he interrupted, President Kennedy interrupted his tour, walked over to the man and said, "Hi, I am Jack Kennedy. What are you doing?" The janitor surprisingly responded, "I'm helping put a man on Mr. President." Now, this type of answer tells that this janitor had a transformation, a mindset that has been transformed. Okay, he is so dedicated to the organizational outcome that he doesn't look at himself as a janitor. He looks at himself as part of the team putting a man on the moon. Okay, and for making your staff actually focused on one specific unbelievable outcome, right, means that everybody will be so dedicated to achieve that outcome. An example of a transformational engagement at NASA, right? So it just highlights how engagement transforms the mindset of your employees to a much higher, much better level. Okay, now I'm going to be introducing this novel engagement as a perspective on engagement as a competency, and I will be highlighting the 7 E's, the 7-step roadmap for mastering this competency. And you will see that these actually steps are so elegantly, developed, right, that they can help you become, engage anybody you come across. It's all about employee, team or follower engagement, and also about patient and family engagement. Believe it or not, the 7 E's work perfectly well for engaging even your patient and the patient's family. Okay? Now, the talk as a whole will revolutionize your understanding of employee or team or follower engagement. You will master the art of engaging your employees and team and transform your organization. As a matter of fact, it's important that all leaders, presidents or whatever, right, if our current government officials, right, know about this competency and make use of it, right, they would have transformed our country, right? You are going to discover a very simple roadmap to demystify what engagement is about. And you will be very confident in applying this novel transformational engagement, roadmap. Okay, it will help you motivate and unlock the power of your employees or followers. It will help drive their performance. It unleashes their true potential. Right, it maximizes their contribution. Right. If you use these strategies, which I'm going to highlight over this presentation, you will definitely, unleash their true potential and allow them actually to maximize their contribution. And as it's been seen, actually, engagement differentiates your unit from other units, your business from other businesses, right? And it helps you go big, go fast. You will move fast in whatever you want to do, right? It transforms people's mindset, and people become people-centric, something called listening and healing enterprise. You are working in a healing and listening environment. You are actually you became one highly connected family, emotionally, cognitively, and behaviorally. Okay, right? You will see that how employee engagement by itself, right, is really a game changer. Employee or team engagement is a game changer. If you manage to do it properly, it's definitely a game changer. Okay, I'll be answering 3 questions. What is engagement? I will highlight in more detail why is it important, and I'll just give you the steps of how to actually successfully achieve it. Okay, I will be defining few elements of engagement. You will recognize its importance, you will recognize its drivers, you will see the practical strategies for actually doing it, right? As leaders, you really need to know that this is part and parcel of your job as a leader. You will actually know the 7 E's engagement competency, people engagement competency framework. As I said, it's a people engagement competency framework. It's not only for employees, it's for everybody, right? And there are various actually enabling actions for actually going through all the elements of engagement, right? The 7 E's and how to actually practically apply them. Okay. Now let me just tell you, a bit more about the term itself, about engagement, right? And people obviously know, when you say engagement, people think about al-khutuwa, okay? And it's engagement is a formal agreement to get married, okay? Now, in essence, it's about an emotional connection. Two people who are in love with each other, who are going to be committed to each other, and they're getting engaged, right? But as a matter of fact, the term is actually much, much, much broader than this, okay? Now, you can have a president or a king, and they have to engage the people. The president of a republic, Rais al-Jamhuriya, or a Malik, okay. You have an organizational executive, somebody owning a business who has to engage his employees. A leader, for example, a medical consultant who has to engage his unit members. He has a registrar, he has a house officer, he has a medical officer, right? And or a fellow, and he has to engage all his or her team. Also, you have a teacher or a trainer who has to engage the students or trainees, okay? And a healthcare provider who has to engage their patient, and a family head who has to engage their family members. And obviously, coming back, husband to be, a wife to be. So engagement is really much broader than just getting married, right? Now, when people try to define what engagement is about, right, they said that there are 3 elements, right? Somebody is engaged if there has been a change in cognition, cognitively, the way they think differently, right? And emotionally, they're different. They are in love. They have a connection with whatever they are engaged with. And behaviorally, they are going to behave differently. So in engagement, you have 3 components. The way you think is different. The way you feel is different, and the way you behave is different, right? You think differently, act differently, okay, and behave differently. Okay, this is exactly what engagement is about. Okay, in employee engagement, now this is the international definition of employee engagement, right? And as I said, it actually applies to any follower or team member. Okay, now engagement is the extent to which employees have the motivation to achieve organizational success and organizational outcomes, right? Not only are they do they know the organizational outcome they are interested in, right? But they are willing to apply discretionary effort. Discretionary effort means that they are willing to go the extra mile. They are willing to stay late. They're willing to do their best, okay? They're willing to improve the service. They are not just focused on doing the service, right? They will go the extra mile to actually achieve the goals of what they do, of whatever they are, their job actually requires. That also applies to patients, right? When patients and families are engaged, right, they are so much connected with their clinicians and other hospital staff, right, that they are willing to work together as one connected team to improve the quality and safety of their care, right? And in essence, the patients and the families become members of the team. And that's why any clinician must tell the patients, if he wants his or her patients to be engaged, that you are part of the team, you help us in making the right decisions, right? So no longer will the patients be just on the passive side, but they will actively contribute to their care, okay, because they have become members of the healthcare team, okay? So engagement has this power, actually, of moving the relationship between patient and family and healthcare providers, team or followers and heads of a unit and so forth to a much higher level than is normally attained. Okay. Now, engagement itself is classified into three parts. Okay. Now they say that there are three types of people. Okay. Whether these are employees or followers or patients, right? Or even family members, daughters or sons or wife or whatever. Okay. That they are either engaged, not engaged, or actively disengaged. Now, the engaged ones are the ones who are classically for employees. These are high performance, they are very innovative, they are very efficient, they are very committed, and they understand very well their role. They always have high energy. Now, these are the engaged, and I'm sure that everybody wants to have a team member with all these, characteristics. Now, the other side is the actively disengaged. Now, the actively disengaged are disruptive. They work against the other members. They don't want the organization to succeed. They're very miserable. They have bad attitude. They're often late or absent. They waste other people's time and they undermine their co-workers, right? Believe it or not, in any organization, in any unit, in any family, you will have the two extremes. Now, the others in the middle are the ones that are either neither engaged nor actively disengaged, and these are the not engaged. Now, these are the ones who want to just clock in and clock out. They come to work and go. They don't care about what happens, okay? They have little passion to the service. They're not very creative at all. They might be absent, right? They have little motivation, okay? As a matter of fact, the not engaged are the ones who would just, if the first chance to leave the job, they will leave the job, right? They don't care at all, okay? And when you have engaged employees, you can tell actually by just the sayings what they say. Some would say, I have some ideas from improving our process or workflow. They are keen to improve the service, right? They are keen about the company's mission and vision. If we're very focused, for example, on patient safety, they are very committed to the mission and vision, right? They are happy to take more responsibility and contribute in new ways. I'm interested in professional development opportunities. How can I help? How can I learn new skills, right? You can just look at some of the words they use, some of the sentences they actually, they verbalize, and you can tell whether they're really committed or not. And it actually, this applies also to patients, right? If a patient comes and says, I've been researching my condition, right, and treatment options, then you know that this patient is now engaged, right? If a patient says, I really understand the importance of following my treatment plan, you know that they are engaged. If they say, I have some questions about my diagnosis and treatment, they ask questions, you know that they're engaged. If they're not engaged, they're not going to ask. They just come and say hello. You tell them, these are your blood results, these are the medications, and bye-bye, right? So these are not engaged patients. The seriousness of having disengaged, followers or employees or trainees or disengaged patients, I'll show in the next few slides, right? It's just the statistics of disengagement, right? Now, if I just showed you this slide, you would be very surprised how disengagement, negatively impacts so many things. It's unbelievable, right? When you have a disengaged member of a staff or a disengaged employee, right, you will have a negative impact on productivity, a negative impact on profitability, a negative impact on efficiency, a negative impact on innovation, a negative impact on quality and safety as a whole, a negative impact on customer satisfaction, patients or even in the business and experience. The staff well-being, all in all, will be affected negatively. Safety, even mortality has been shown. Mortality not only in the customers but even in staff is higher, right? Staff attendance and turnover, more actually staff leave the service. You have more turnover. So disengagement is really serious. And in any service, right, you will find that around a third are engaged, around 10-15% are disengaged, right? And only about 50% are not engaged, are not engaged. As a matter of fact, Dr. Mohammed Al Fateh, sent some statistics, right? Is exactly what is happening here. Okay, almost 50% are not engaged. Okay. Now these are the 14% that are disengaged. These are actually rolling in the wrong direction. They are driving in the wrong direction altogether. And the 55% that are not engaged, they're not committed. They're unlikely to help your service to become better. They just want to clock in and clock out, and that's it. They don't want to do anything extra, right? And they can be a source of problem in the future. Okay, the 31% are the ones really keeping the standards high and allowing the service to move forward. Okay, when people looked at the cost of disengagement in the world, right? Because as I mentioned, disengagement has a negative impact on productivity, right? They found that if the ones that are engaged, you get more people who are engaged because only 30% are worldwide are engaged, right? And this is in the world. If you have more people who are engaged, you can actually get the world 7.8 trillion extra in productivity, or you lose 7.8 if you have disengaged because of your disengagement. So 7.8 trillion is lost in productivity because of staff disengagement. And that doesn't only apply to businesses or industries, even in healthcare. And I'll show you some figures later, how disengagement in healthcare for staff and for patients is so serious in wasting, the countries or the Ministry of Health's resources. Okay, and it's been shown actually, if you improve engagement, you improve productivity and performance, you increase customer satisfaction, you reduce absenteeism, there is higher levels of well-being, you increase retention, you increase income, and you increase innovation. So there are so many benefits of improving, your teams, your staff, or employees' engagement, right? This is actually what I've shown, actually, the slides are actually about businesses and employees, but look at healthcare as well. Now, this is a study which was done in England at the NHS, right? And you can see that the mortality rate actually has actually improved when staff were better engaged. When staff are highly engaged, right, the mortality rate dropped to 95%. When they have high level of disengagement, mortality rate increased to 103. There's 3% more deaths there. Absenteeism changes with engagement. Quality, the loss of money, wasting of resources, right, is worse when medical staff are disengaged. Even patient satisfaction, when staff are engaged, patient satisfaction is much better. And patient satisfaction is considered as an important quality measure, right, in current or modern healthcare. And these same figures have been seen in the States, actually, the unengaged patients, right? The patients who are disengaged, right? They don't bring a list of questions to the doctors, right? They don't tell health professionals if they've got allergy, right? They don't look at their medications properly. At the end of the day, they don't do well. And when they looked at the cost of patient disengagement in the United States, right? It's just lost appointments or missed appointments. It's costing the healthcare there 150 billion. Just missed appointments, because people are disengaged. That's the cost. And if you actually engage patients, you save a lot of money, right? 290 billion is saved when patients are fully engaged. Okay, so disengagement for patients, low medication adherence, rising healthcare costs, and poor health outcomes. So staff and patient engagement in healthcare is significantly of serious importance. We should really focus on improving engagement in our healthcare facilities right, as a tool actually to improve the quality and reduce wastage of resources. Okay, so what are the take-home messages from my previous slides? Okay, now without engagement, organizational transformation does not happen. Okay, or the engagement is a prescription for organizational transformation. You want to transform your unit, you want to transform your service, you want to transform your, your hospital, get hold of and have an engagement program. Okay, it is definitely differentiates. Two units, one is doing better than the other. An important factor might be just engagement. It's called a key competitive differentiator, right? Engagement actually makes staff highly empowered and reaches their potential, makes them wanting to deliver. Okay, they actually, their performance becomes superior. Okay, this statement, all of the other, with the others, they came up with this actually statement in healthcare or in the business arena, that engagement is the difference that makes the difference. Engagement is the difference that makes the difference and could make all the difference. Okay, so don't ever underestimate the power of engaging your staff. Okay, or your business, or your employees, or your team. Work hard to engage your team. Okay, now highlighting what engagement is, right? The cognitive, emotional, and behavioral elements. Okay, and its impact actually on productivity, performance, cost, quality, mortality in healthcare specifically, or in the business arena, right? So engagement is not something, to underestimate or not to actually get it into practice. Okay, improving engagement is an important tool for moving forward and transforming, people or organizations. Okay, we need now to go and find out what really makes people engaged and what doesn't make them engaged. How to make people engaged and therefore make use of this, right? So when people looked at what makes people engaged, they found that the answer was very simple, right? That it is poor engagement is because of lack of fulfillment of basic human desires and aspirations. In essence, we are not providing these human beings, the trainees or the followers or the employees, right, with their basic needs, right? Now, Maslow is actually a psychiatrist who put a hierarchy of needs. He said that these are the needs of any human being. And as a matter of fact, if you can satisfy the needs of these needs, if you can satisfy these needs, you are more likely to get people engaged. Okay, right? Now, what are these needs? Now, Maslow came up with a pyramid. He said that there are actually 5 levels of needs. The basics are the physiological needs, like air, water, food, shelter, sleep, okay, clothing. The second is safety, right? So people have food and water. That's the basic physiological needs, right? The second is actually security, safety needs, okay? Personal security, employment, they have a job, okay? They have resources, they have health needs, they have a house. These are the safety needs. And then love and belonging means that somebody to care for the human being, like having friends, family, have a sense of connection. And then the fourth element is self-esteem. It means that they are respected, they are recognized for their, for their self, right? They have freedom. And then the last one is self-actualization, and that's the top. This is when people see themselves moving forward, in their career, in their life. Okay, they have achieved the highest level of achievements, of their dreams, right? And they said that the more you move up, right, the more you have a prosperous and highly engaged people. If you can provide people with all these elements, love and belonging, esteem, self-actualization, and so forth, people start becoming engaged and deliver. And as a matter of fact, this is what has happened in the West, right? In the West, people have been, this became the norm. Physiological needs, safety needs, love and belonging, right? Self-esteem, and that's why they are moving forward, right? They are actually developing their populations, right? When people looked at this element, they found that if it's only survival you are providing, you're likely to get disengaged people. As you're providing more and more of the other elements, security, belonging, importance, and self-actualization, you start having highly engaged people. So what happened is that people try because specifically for employees, they try to get highly engaged, to develop highly engaged people by providing all the elements of the pyramid so that people can move forward and become highly engaged, right? Now, this is actually these are the 12 elements of a questionnaire that's called the Gallup Q12. Now, the Gallup Q12 questionnaire is a questionnaire which I think that Mohammed Fateh had actually passed on to you, right? Now, these ask you about important questions that, measure the degree of engagement, measure your degree of engagement at whatever place you're working, okay? They came up with these 12 questions after doing questionnaires for millions of workers, right? They came up with these 12 elements. And these 12 elements, they named them as the elements that determine engagement or contribute to engagement. Strange enough, these 12 elements actually mirror the Maslow's pyramid of needs. Exactly, question 1 and 2 are actually basic needs. Questions 3 to 6 are individual needs. Question 7 to 10 are teamwork, love and belonging, and questions 11 and 12 are growth or self-actualization, right? So as a matter of fact, what the Gallup engagement hierarchy or 12 elements or 12 questions, right, actually mirror Maslow's hierarchy of needs triangle, and therefore the Q12 engagement hierarchy, right, are the elements that should make your staff or family members or your wife or team members or whatever highly engaged. Okay. Now we tried to build an engagement competency, and as I said, people have spoken about competency in engagement, but nobody actually tried to build a competency-based framework for engagement. So this is what we did. We developed an engagement competency framework. We used actually, competency-based medical education roadmap, because there is a roadmap for developing competency-based educational frameworks. So we used a roadmap to develop a competency-based educational framework. But I really need, before I go into the details of the competencies for engagement, I really need to just highlight some of the important concepts in competency. So what is the basics of competency training? Okay, now so I'm going to explain what is meant by competency, but then I need to explain something called entrustable professional activities, milestones, and enabling actions, because these are the elements which we use to build a framework for our engagement competency, right? Now, competency, here Mahara, okay, right? Al-Mahara, there is competency as communicator. There's a competency as a medical expert. There is competency as a scholar, means competency of doing, for example, research. Okay, so competency is actually the name used for a standardized requirement for an individual to properly perform a specific job. What are the elements or the skills that you need to fulfill your job? Okay, as for example, as a registrar or as a consultant, what are the competencies that you need? Okay, right. As I said, there are many competencies, but say there is a medical expert competency, medical expert doesn't mean only medicine, but the medical expert, whether you are an obstetrician or a pediatrician, right? You're still a medical expert. Do you have the right competence to do the, to deal with the medical issues related to your specialty? As a communicator, right? Again, this is a competency. Are you able to communicate, in the proper way, right? Now, the EPA stands for Entrustable Professional Activity, milestones, and then enabling actions. For every competency, you need these three elements. I'll just explain exactly what each mean. Now, the entrustable professional activity is actually the professional activity, the activity of the profession that you should master and be able to do unsupervised. If you can manage to do it unsupervised, then it's called entrustable professional activity. Now, it could be normal vaginal delivery, how to manage normal vaginal delivery. This will be called an entrustable professional activity, or dealing with a patient with croup, or dealing with a patient with acute stroke. Now, these are called the professional activities, the specialty specific professional group activities or tasks, right? Now, for every specialty, there are usually 20 or 30 entrustable professional activities that, that in competency-based medical education, you have to master before you become a consultant in, for example, obstetrics. Consultant means that you are entrusted to do it, unsupervised, right? So there are many entrustable professional activities depending on the specialty, okay? Now, milestones are simply the steps that you have to take to achieve the entrustable professional activity. These are the milestones, these are the steps or stages. For example, if you want to manage a patient with normal vaginal delivery, now what are the steps that you have to take? If you want to manage a patient with acute stroke or croup, what are the steps? In general, these include history, examination, investigation, treatment, and so forth, right? So these are the milestones. So for any professional activity, right? Professional means that it is a specialty task, right? You have to have a group of entrustable professional activities and some milestones. And sometimes we need some tools to actually achieve the milestone, okay? For example, you are dealing with a patient with acute stroke. One of the milestones, for example, is assessing severity. And therefore, the tool will be like a stroke scoring tool. Okay, for example, the National Institute of Health stroke scoring tool. Okay, so these are called the enabling tools. So for every competency, you need three elements: an entrustable professional activity or a list of entrustable professional activities for that competency, the milestones, what are the steps to achieve it, and some enabling actions or tools, right? And obviously, you can see that every entrustable professional activity will have multiple milestones. Now, let me just share with you this slide about communicator competency. Now, as a communicator competency, two of entrustable professional activities in the communicator competency would be breaking bad news, say, and handle. Now, the milestones would be the steps or stages in attaining the entrustable professional activity. For example, choosing the right place for discussion or breaking bad news, who to attend, assessing knowledge, warning shot, showing empathy, education, future planning. But then we have some enabling actions, like, for example, the spikes mnemonic, right, is an enabling action tool to achieve the milestones for an entrustable professional activity of breaking bad news. So you can see the link between enabling actions, milestones, and entrustable professional activities. Okay, now let's take the same concept and go to engagement competency, right? So how did we do it actually? How did we do? Right, we looked at the Q12, the engagement items that I showed you that actually were clearly related to better employee engagement. So we looked at these 12 elements, right? And we tried to see what is the specific description or designation of that action. And I just share with you. Now, one of the questions in the Gallup 12 was, I know what is expected of me at work. I know what is expected of me at work. Now, when we looked at that, we felt that this is about envisioning. This is about envisioning, right? another question was, I have the materials and equipment I need to do my work right. And we felt that this description would fulfill the empowerment of a staff or trainees. Another one, at work, I have the opportunity to do what I do best every day. Also, it's about empowerment. In the last 7 days, I have received recognition or praise for doing good work. This is about energizing, telling people, rewarding people for what they're doing. So this is about energizing. My superior or someone at work seems to care about me as a person. This is about empathy. Okay. Now there is some at work who encourages my development. Again, this looks like energizing. Somebody is energizing me to move forward in my career. Right? At work, my opinions seem to count. Then we felt this is actually about embracing, embracing the team, embracing the members as part and parcel, not just as employees, but actually as partners, right? The mission or purpose of my company makes me feel my job is important. Again, this is about envisioning, right? Somebody is telling me about the mission or the purpose of my company. So it's about envisioning. My associates or fellow employees are committed to doing quality work. So I would not be able to know how my employees are doing if somebody is not telling me, because I'm not following them up. So it means that somebody is enlightening me about the good work of what my colleagues are doing. So this is about enlightenment. I have a best friend at work, somebody I can, rely on to help me when things get bad. So this is about empathy also. In the last 6 months, someone at work has talked to me about my progress. Again, this is about somebody is assessing me and making sure that I'm moving forward. So this is about evaluation. And this last year, I've had the opportunity at work to learn and grow, right? So the job or whatever I'm doing, right, provided opportunities for me to work and learn and grow, okay? Right, so at the end of the day, we came up with the 7 E's, right? And you can tell, okay, we use the 7 E's because these are all words with 7 E's, right? And this was a prototype that has not been a framework that has not been there in the literature for engagement before. Envisioning, embracing, empowerment, enlightening, empathy or emphasize, energizing, evaluating, right? So we came up with the 7 E's, entrustable professional activities. They are entrustable because for every one of them, there are milestones and there are how to do it, how to do envisioning. There are milestones for doing envisioning. There are milestones for embracing. There are milestones for empowering. There are milestones. We've actually written it in our paper, okay? And with all of that, we also wrote the enabling actions. We came up with a huge list of enabling actions, and I'll share some with you, okay? Right. So, for example, the empower, these are some of the milestones. Having a powerful onboarding catalyst program. When new employees come, you have to have a catalyst program to empower them so that they are ready to deliver, right? For empowerment, you have to have a competency-based training program, and you have to provide some tools. For example, assigning mentors to new hires, or providing ongoing coaching and employee training. So these are important elements, right, for the empower. You can see this is the entrustable professional activity, these are the milestones, and these are the enabling actions, right? Now, I'm just going to go a bit deeper into each EPA, right, about the 7 EPAs. Now, envisioning is about sharing and aligning with the future state. You have to tell your team or your employees what you want to achieve, right, and highlight this on a regular basis, right? If you are interested in high quality, you are interested in safety, right? You are interested in having a shorter length of stay, right? You have to envision them, what your aims are, your outcome, right? It's important that you don't only look at the organization, but also envision them with their personal goals and expectations, right? What we want you to achieve as a member of staff. We want you to move forward in career. We want you to learn some new skills, right? This is all about envisionment, right? And there are many ideas about how to create an envisionment, program, okay, with its enabling actions, okay? And then the second one is about embracing. Now, embracing means that your team members should feel that they are partners. They are not just service providers. They are partners in decision making, right? They are owners and partners, and they have a voice. So you will listen to them and make things better for the service and for them, okay? And this actually is well known. If you look after your staff, they will look after your customers. It's that simple. And actually, it was found that if you engage your staff, you improve their experience, and the patient experience improve as a second part, right? Improving staff experience, improving patient experience automatically. Okay. You ask their opinion in big decisions, get their feedback, recognize their work anniversaries, right? If they have a date of birth, they have the birthday, by all means, recognize that, send them an email and so forth, okay? So there are so many things to embrace your workforce. Empowerment is about unleashing the true potential of the workforce, okay? Empowering employees means that you have a competency-based training program. You have a program for improving, helping them move forward in their career. Help them attend conferences, right? Take part in conferences, or give them a chance to present, or attend training of trainer courses and so forth. So this is all about unleashing the true potential of the workforce. Training them so that they become highly powerful in what they do, right? Again, there is a big list of the enabling actions, right? Like giving them the tools, assigning mentors, providing coaching, let employees lead the meetings. Sometimes, ask them, today you are the consultant. I'm actually going to be just listening to what you're going to do and give you some feedback, and so that you start becoming empowered to become a consultant. And then highlighting and then enlightening means that they know what's going on. Is the service are we achieving organizational goals, right? Enlightening people about what's going on is very important, right? Enlightening them about their contribution, that they are actually contributing, and obviously this allows you to have some suggestions and advocacy from them, okay? You really have to communicate how things are moving forward. You communicate the organization and staff status and progress, okay? And there are similarly many ideas for actually, enlightenment, like starting a newsletter, right? Right, and host retrospectives. If there has been a big project, come back to and sit with them and give them the feedback and so forth. Right, it's important that you criticize privately and share praise publicly. Right, if somebody did a mistake, don't criticize in front of them, but share it, criticize privately. But if they have done great, do it publicly. This is a way of enlightening them, and people would know things that are done properly. Okay, and then moving to empathy, right, is about guaranteeing a return on kindness. People who are, if you're kind to your employees, right, or your trainees or your staff, they will return back on, and do a better job, because they feel indebted that you've been nice to them. This is the concept of listening enterprise. Listening and healing enterprise. It's a listening. You listen to their concerns and you help them out. So it's a listening and healing enterprise, right? It's important that you come to know your employees or staff or trainees personally, right? Have a bit of idea, where do they live? How do they get to work? Do they need help? Do they have any social issues that you can help with? This is all about empathy, right? And again, there are many ideas, enabling actions, like asking, flexible work hours, offer them sick days in addition to vacation days, offer a wellness or mindfulness workshop. These all enabling actions are in the paper. We include in the paper so people can. You can see the list is big, right? Make sure that they are actually taking breaks, not just eating lunch at their desks, right? Tell them time to have a break. Please go and have a break. Go and enjoy your lunch and come back. Okay? And then energizing them, an important element. It's all about keeping the flame and enthusiasm alive. This is all about refueling the workforce to keep giving and delivering. It's all about recognizing their hard work and rewarding them for their hard work, right? A thank you is so many people even don't get a thank you. Just a thank you really makes a lot of difference to staff. And again, there are many ideas for energizing your staff, okay? One of them is volunteer together with your staff. If the staff are actually doing a voluntary work, tell them, I'm going to join you. That actually, once you see around with them, it energizes them, right? So there are many ideas for energizing, right? And then the last one is evaluation. You see, you need to be on the look for the development, how your team is actually progressing, right? And that means you really need to assess them from time to time and make sure that they are moving forward, right? And give them feedback and helping them to move forward, to get better and better. So it's important, without evaluation, things break down. And you don't know whether your staff are actually moving forward in the Maslow's, they're moving to self-actualization or not, right? So it's important, right? And there are ways of actually assessing people. Even the Gallup Q12 is a tool for assessing engagement and assessing how happy are your staff, right? So these are the 7 elements, right? And now I'm going to finish by actually talking about how you can make use of the engagement competency, right, to help even patients. Now, this is a true story, right? This is a 35-year-old mother of 4, and a housewife. Now, her concern is that restricted mobility because of secondary osteoarthritis of both knees. Now, she's unhappy as she can no longer enjoy her daily strides. She cannot do her walks, at her home garden, and nearby park. Her BMI is very high, 37, right? And she also has prediabetes, and she's actually, has obstructive sleep apnea because of her obesity, right? She's dyslipidemic and hypertensive. And these are her medications: metformin, atorvastatin, and rosuvastatin. Now, I'm going to highlight how the 7 E's will help me engage my patient, okay? Now, the envisioning is about alignment with the organizational requirements or the needs for the patient, right? And alignment with my medical outcomes. So I want her to know what I want to do and what she wants to achieve as well. So alignment with the goals of the doctor and the goals of the patient, right? Now, what I will say, now you will say to align her and have envision her. May we agree on our goals? You see, it's all about our goals, right? We want to make your BMI come down to 30 within the next 6 months. However, I put a goal, right? Now, this will have a very favorable impact on your obstructive sleep apnea, hypertension, and A1C, the diabetes. And this will have much less pain and you will be able to enjoy your walks. You can see now I've aligned her with my medical goals and my personal goals, right? This is about envisioning, okay? Now, the second thing is about embracement or embracing. Now, I don't want to be a paternalistic clinician. I want her to be, help her take part in the decision-making process, okay? Now, you have to tell them, I want them to be partners in decision-making, in reaching a management strategy, right? I need you to be able to come up with the interventions. Obviously, to agree together on intervention. Obviously, this needs a bit of education on the patient side, right? Unless you educate patients, they cannot actually take part in decision-making and they become partners or good partners, okay? So you want to have their decision and their preferences, and obviously you really need to educate them beforehand, right? Empowerment this is about education. Now I empower her so that she can help in the decision-making process, right? I will empower her, so I will need to educate her. I will tell her, provide her with education materials, decision support tools, right? So that she can actually make up the right decisions. So this is about empowerment with education, right? So I will empower the patient so that she becomes, partner in care, right? Now, empathy means that I have to voice that I am there even if it's difficult for her. Okay. Now I very much appreciate and do understand that you have concerns that you might not be able to achieve this weight reduction, right? But with empathy, you have to give them hope that things are going, they're going to manage, right? And by all means, in empathy, you will tell them that you're there to help. So empathy is all about the art of okay, and they are not alone. You are going to help them achieve their goals, right? Now, enlighten means that I have to tell them how things are happening, and the progress of their doing. So your current weight is 120, your blood pressure is like this, your A1C is like this, your cholesterol, right? Now, I'm going to enlighten you on our targets in 6 months. So it's not only just saying I want to achieve, but you might give them figures. Your blood pressure will be like this, and your A1C and so forth, right? And you're enlightening them on the progress as they go, as you keep following them up, right? And you're always open to their comments and suggestions, right? And then energizing means that whatever achievement they do, you actually congratulate them, and even if it's not up to the mark, right? But you keep energizing them to fuel them to reach their goals. You don't actually undermine their confidence in themselves, right? Right. And so you energize them and give them hope regularly, even if they don't achieve much, right? So that they continue in trying hard to achieve the goal, right? But obviously, by evaluation is about monitoring. And you have to monitor your patients to see how they're progressing, right? Give them a contact number and so forth. Okay. So you need to evaluate and monitor your patients. So these are the 7 E's applied to patients as well. So you can see that this engagement framework works for everybody. You can engage your family through this. You can engage your trainees. You can engage your if you're a head of department or a head of unit, you can engage that, and you can also engage your patients, right? Now, if you have engagement, you end up with a highly satisfied and happy workforce, right? Now, it's important to remember that you have to really engage and invest your people in your people to achieve the results you desire, right? Now, any leader have to understand engagement is drivers, the Maslow's hierarchy, the 7 E's, and their individual employees. Now, I just point to individual employees here. Now, engagement should be individualized. It means that if I want to energize, it's not always money. Some people just need a thank you. Some people just need a day off. They don't all want money. Like some people would just, give them, tell them, okay, let's have a small, have a meal outside, give them the chance to attend a conference. These are simple things that could energize the employees or trainees, and that's why what's meant by drivers of engagement need to be individualized. Okay, right? Engaging leadership using engagement competency and empathy these are the really empathy is very important in energizing in actually engaging your staff, right? They always say that make engagement, right, part of the norm. Okay, so the norm is I do the 7 E's regularly. That's the norm. Okay, and they say it has to become part of the organization's DNA. So it becomes part of the organization, regular work that they are engaging all the time, right? So engagement is about challenging the status quo, okay, and about moving forward with your service. It's an indispensable tool for transformation in healthcare, in business, in family life, in training, in any unit. Okay, and thank you very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed the talk.
Thank you, Prof. Imad. Thank you so much for Sudan. ويحفظك. السلام عليكم.
بارك الله فيك دكتور محمد والجميع. ألف شكر.